What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going to be discussing how to turn your inbox management process from inconsistent, mangled mess that can't convert into a well-oiled reply machine that converts engaged leads into meetings at will. Now, super pumped about this one. Let's dive into it. So everybody wants to send a fire cold email campaign to a highly targeted list of prospects with superior deliverability. Now, that's only part of the equation. Once a prospect becomes an engaged lead, then you actually have to convert them into a meeting. Converting one-off prospects into meetings really isn't that challenging. It's not quite rocket science, but doing this across multiple inboxes, multiple campaigns, and quite a few clients requires a dialed-in system. What you need is a scalable inbox management blueprint so you can capitalize engaged leads to quickly and systematically convert with predictable precision. Here's a little snapshot of what you're going to look like before this blueprint and what you look like after this blueprint. Step one, engage leads and identifying the most common response types. Now, engaged leads are defined as any prospect that replies with positive or neutral intent to an outbound cold email. Net new responses, this is going to be the first reply that we receive from an engaged lead. And follow-ups are going to be just the ongoing follow-ups and nurture emails that we send to engaged leads who have replied positively or neutral intent, but have not yet booked in a meeting. Now, within these buckets, we can break down our replies further into the following categories. So we have interested replies. These are going to be from leads who have indicated interest in a meeting. Information requests are going to be from leads who have asked a specific question or multiple questions about your offer. Referral requests are going to be replies from leads who have indicated that there is a more relevant person inside the company. So basically, you should go reach out to this person. Future sequences, these are going to be the replies from leads who basically say not now, don't have the bandwidth, or hit me up in 3 months. I'll be able to handle this then. And then the last one is going to be custom responses. Pretty simply, these are just going to be those responses that we haven't yet come up with a framework or handled in the past. And so, yeah, there's just a little bit more work around that, but pretty much the same across the board. What we'll do is going to use all of these categories to quickly identify a framework response and follow up. This is going to be all the categories that we need for 100% of all of our engaged leads. Step two, automated inbox management training. First, we'll start with a tool recommendation. This is a software that we use to put out all of our cold email campaigns. This is going to be smartly.ai. It is a best-in-class email sending software. If you're doing this yourself, I'd highly recommend using this tool. The reason being, they have a master inbox. So all replies come through a single master dashboard. It's going to be, no matter however many clients you have, it's just going to come into this single one. So it's really useful there. So the thing here, though, is that you want to make sure that you're still regularly checking your Google inboxes for any missed replies. Now, they do a good job of catching the replies, but it's not a native integration with Gmail. So some still going to get missed when they do their API pulls. And so just make sure you don't miss any opportunities by being lazy. So just make sure that you're going and you're checking those regularly. Set a cadence, do it like every week or so. And that should make sure that you're not missing any interested replies. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. So they have AI categorization. So what you want to do is you want to turn this on a campaign level so you can quickly and accurately bucket your lead responses. So basically what that means is, like, instead of sifting through each email manually, the tool does a lot of that heavy lifting and allows you or your inbox manager to quickly apply the correct response framework. So a quick pro tip here is that 75 to 80% of the AI categorization is accurate. So that means that there's still going to be some misses. So you'll still want to manually reconfirm these categorizations. But ultimately, this is a really useful feature to help you triage and respond to the most relevant messages very quickly. This is a quick overview of the standard reply categories in Smartly, just to kind of give you a little taste of what they got. But the next thing that I want to talk about are subsequences. These are really important and are used to automatically enroll engaged leads into relevant follow-up sequence. So based on some conditions that you set up, you can actually create a predetermined flow of messages to a prospect. So this is a good way to think about it, right? So you have one sequence that goes out. That's going to be, call it 4 emails over a period of about a month. If one of those emails gets responded to, that then becomes an engaged lead, right? So once you have that engaged lead that satisfies a specific condition that you've set up beforehand, you will automatically enter them into a follow-up sequence. That follow-up sequence is then going to follow up with however many you want. We call it 3+ messages over a time frame, call it 3 weeks. So that's going to allow you basically to automate the outbound and then the additional responses. So that's a really good way to leverage technology on the long-term basis to make sure that you're following up, you're staying in front of them, and you're not wasting time. So now that we have a good grip on the technology that we're going to leverage, let's get into the good stuff, which is actually how to around handling those replies from those engaged leads. Step 3, secret response handling blueprint. Now let's dive into the response frameworks to show you actually how we address these. So based on what we talked about before, we have interested replies. So what we want to do then is respond to their email and basically push them to book a meeting. From there, we have information requests. So this is where we're going to address the prospect's specific question using information from our onboarding form or previous conversations with the client. And we're also going to push for a meeting here. Referral sequence or referral requests. We're going to contact the referenced prospect, and we're going to keep that original prospect in CC, attaching the original email chain just to make sure that they're totally kept in the loop on the context. And that's a really helpful way to convert those leads relatively quickly. Future sequences, again, this is just going to be circling back at a future date. Generally, best practice there is if they say reach out at a date, just do it. Custom responses, this is where we're going to talk to the client and ask them a question for additional context if we don't have the answer already. Now, this is the sauce. There's a pro tip right here. So we're saying create a common response library. So create an ongoing library of common engaged lead responses. These folks are typically going to want to know about your process. In other words, like how do you actually work? Your case studies. In other words, do you actually have relevant results? And then pricing. How do you charge? Leads will ask the same question in a million different ways, but generally looking to get the same answer. So as soon as you can quickly distill that, the better. Now, I would suggest writing a response and saving it down for future use. Now, next time a prospect asks the same question, you'll have a templatized response that's already been validated. So no need to really reinvent the wheel here. You're only sending this one message to one person. Now, this is going to be one of the single biggest levers you can pull in your inbox management process to create that scalable workflow. Highly recommended. And we leverage this for ourselves and all of our clients. So now that we're actually able to respond to our lead after we've saved down our common response framework, now let's put them into a subsequence. So typically what we're doing here is we're going to send 3 standard follow-ups, reminding the engaged lead about the result that they can achieve in working together. What you want to do is you want to add value using some kind of a sales asset. Call it a YouTube video, a training, or a case study. The last step there is you want to push for that meeting on a specific day of the week. You can use merge fields in Smartly to make this more quick. But yeah, those are the basic frameworks around standard follow-ups. If the lead remains unresponsive, they're likely not ready. And so what you have to do is just keep following up. So what we'll do is we'll shift them into more of a long-term nurture sequence. So basically what this means is we're just going to be sending a value add message, call it every 21 days to about a month, sharing those sales assets, other resources that are showcasing your expertise, if you have any new client results that you're stoked on, and ultimately just staying front of mind. The goal here is just attention, and we need to just try to stay front of mind so when they're ready to convert, you're the only logical choice. So I know that there's a lot of visual learners out here, so I want to share a little bit of sauce right below. So this is actually the blueprint that we use in our response handling inbox management process. So I know that's a bit of a mouthful, but simply this is the sequence, right? We have the positive replies. You either have interested, information, referral, or future, or they're custom. So you basically suggesting you're looking for the response in the document, you package it up, you reply, and if they respond, great, address additional questions, push for a meeting. If they don't, step 2, continue. Step 3, continue, bump into that social sequence, nurture flow. So this is really the brains behind the operation, right? So without having to reinvent the wheel each time you get some kind of a response, or if you are unsure of what to do, you have at least some frameworks in a library that's in one place, and it's going to save you a lot of time. So 100% recommended. Step 4, how to convert engaged leads into meetings. So anytime that we have an engaged lead, we do 2 things every single time. And that's, first and foremost, address the question. The second part is include a specific call to action, or CTA. So it is 100% required every single time to address an engaged leads question. That means answering it directly. If you skirt or don't answer, they're not going to trust you, and your conversion window will immediately close. I can't emphasize this enough. You just got to make sure that you're actually answering their question. If you don't do that, you're just going to have a bad time. So instead, use your library of response frameworks to address their question. This is a framework that I like to use. It can be plug and played depending on the client, depending on the offer, and depending on the response category. But basically, right, hey, first name, address their question or objection, and then generally provide some kind of like value add resource. And then basically say, hey, if you found value, let's hop on a call to discuss how we can help you achieve the specific result. Again, you're always trying to like tie it back to what the transformation or the result that they're looking to achieve in working with you. And then what works to discuss. And then time 1, time 2. Those are times to suggest. So the reason why we do this is to make it easier to commit to a meeting. So by providing multiple days of availability, it reduces the decision-making load on the prospect side or the lead side. And so you're just trying to reduce their decision and make it easier to commit to a meeting. So once they respond with an available time, book them in, do it. Use Calendly. It's a great tool, and it's seamless. If they don't book in, use those subsequences to nurture that lead and then book them in when the timing is right. A key thing to note here, and I think a lot of people who are not really used to outbound sales, they kind of forget that they think they're being annoying when it comes to follow-up. But the reality is, like, business leaders are super busy and they have so many competing priorities that you can't be afraid to follow up. You gotta be able to stick out. So don't be afraid to follow up. It's an absolute necessity. The goal here, again, you're maintaining attention and you are trying to convert in a crowded inbox. So you got to bring value, you got to bring some heat, and just keep following up. Don't stop. But again, value add every time. That's really the caveat. So now that the engaged lead is booked into the meeting, the work is almost done. Not quite yet though. The last step is getting them to actually show up. So let's talk about that now. Step 5, how to get engaged leads to actually show up. Quick question. Once the meeting books in, the next time the lead hears from you is on the sales call. False. Unequivocally false. And so the reason why is we need to continue nurturing once they have booked in. We can't have them forget about us. So we engage with the lead a minimum of 3 times before their scheduled meeting. So here's our cadence that we use right now. And I know that there's 4 steps here, but at least 3. So immediately once the meeting is booked, 24 hours prior to the call, 3 hours prior to the call, and then 15 minutes prior to the call. Now, the time frames that you want to do, you can choose to do whatever. This is what we do, and we have 80 to 90% show up rates for our internal meetings pretty often. So it works. So basically each follow-up is packed with value. We're showcasing our VSL video sales letter, providing a recent case study, always showcasing how we can help the prospect or engaged lead achieve their dream result. It's all about the prospect. Again, we're trying to think high level transformation. What are they actually going to achieve in working with us? And these pre-call flows reduce the no-show rate and prime the lead for the call. So when they hop on, they know who you are, they know your offer, they're ready to go with some questions. And if you've done a really good job and nurtured them properly, they're going to have minimal questions on the call and you can convert much more quickly. But in short, inbox management in 2023 is all about leveraging technology and being strategic with your resources and time. Now, with these steps that we talked about today, you're not only able to manage multiple inboxes across multiple campaigns, but also convert those engaged leads into qualified sales calls that ultimately will lead to revenue. Now, that's really it for the video. If you liked what you saw today, would love to chat, especially if you're a B2B agency who is looking for 5 to 10 more qualified meetings each month on Autopilot. Now, if you want to follow me, you can find me on my YouTube, my Twitter, my LinkedIn, all linked in the description below. But if you found value, I would love if you hit subscribe, you hit like, write me a comment, share something that you want to hear more about. But anyway, I'm stoked to see everybody booking more meetings that actually lead to revenue. But let's get it going and talk to you in the next video.